Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Horse Races Now podcast. All right, Kenny, we are live on Facebook, the Horse Races Now Facebook, and the Horse Races Now YouTube channel.
I'm glad you take care of all this.
Well,
I have no idea how that works.
There's a lot going on over here, but hopefully some of our visitors can come and see what we're doing, say hello, maybe ask a few questions. But Kenny, until that happens, give us an update. What is new? So you just got back in town yesterday, right?
Yeah, just was at Oaklawn weekend before, and then I went to Ocala for several days, check on young horses, some other business down there, and a couple airplane flights. Of course, Thorpedo Anna's win last weekend was amazing again. She continues to thrill everybody.
Well, you got your apple blossom.
Yeah, including me. You know, she's just something else. I'd had a second and a third in the apple blossom with my other two best fillies. And of course, Take Charge Lady was second, and Swiss Skydiver was third, and then Thorpedo Anna, she checked the box.
So, all right, Kenny, I watched that race, and I was kind of curious because, listen, I know it's a grade 1 stakes, but it didn't seem like she had any competition.
Well, she tends to scare them off.
Is that kind of what happened, or listen, are those horses really good horses, and she just kind of makes them look like that, or
the filly, the Louisiana bred filly, she's won 19 stake races.
Okay,
I mean she's not a graded stakes filly, but she's a very good filly. But where's my ring? I believe who was third had run a really good race before that and ran a good number, and I think there were those in New York that were picking against Thorpedo Anna, which is a little bit laughable. But
why would they do that?
Because there's no price, there's no money to be made betting on her.
Yeah, the 9 to 1, something kind of crazy.
1 to 9,
right? I'm sorry, 1 to 9.
Yeah, so she's almost a bit of a if you're going to play against her. And she's going to have one little, what I call happy half mile, 6 days out, and we will run her right back, or 7 days out, and then we'll run her back.
So you might be able to see Sonny kind of peeking his head out over here on the right hand side.
He's down here.
Sonny is in the studio.
Yeah, he's glad. He likes going to the barn in the morning. I was in Ocala, didn't get to go, but my wife's been walking him, trying to get him to lose a little weight.
You know, he's healthy.
I think I need to walk to lose a little weight, Teague.
He's healthy.
Yeah.
All right, so listen, Kenny, one of the big comments that we're getting all over the social is Kenny going to have anything on Oaks or Derby Day? What's the plan there?
Yeah, quite a few, actually. I think I'm going to run 4 or 5 on Oaks Day, including Take Charge Milady in the Kentucky Oaks.
Okay.
This is a filly that's coming together at the right time. And then Derby Day, Render Judgment might get in, although I'm questionable whether or not I think he's good enough. At the same time, like everybody says, remember, don't forget Rich Strike.
Yeah.
So a lot can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But right now we're next in. If one more horse comes out, then we could get in. Like I said, I'm kind of on the fence, but if we get in or if we have the points to get in, we'll talk to the ownership and we'll decide. I think he's a bit of a father-son Holy Ghost horse in the sense that he hasn't shown that he's that fast yet. But weird things happen Derby Day, so we'll see. And I don't think it's a group that you'd be shivering in your shoes against. The toughie is the filly in the Oaks is Good Cheer. She's 6 for 6. I mean, she does everything really easily, and that's a filly that I'm a little intimidated by at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's whipped us a couple times with Gal's Delight.
Kind of like a Thorpedo Anna in a way.
Yeah,
just
very much.
Yeah, I understand. So one of the comments we had here was, the 20 to 1 morning line when Render Judgment ran suggested that something was off. What's your take on that?
Morning line's just a guesstimate by a track line maker. I thought it was a bad line myself, but look, he ran 5th, and so but he didn't get beat but about 3 or 4 lengths. But the line's a guesstimate, and I think he went off longer than that. So I guess the line maker was correct. But like I said, this horse he really needs to act like he's a little better than he's shown, and we might get conservative and run him in an allowance race on Derby Day. It was really probably the smart move.
Gotcha. One of the other questions we had coming in here is, can you tell us about Champagne Rose?
Yeah, this filly's this is a lovely filly that unfortunately has got a lump on her tendon right now, and we tried her twice on the dirt because she's actually got some dirt pedigree and she has worked really well on the dirt. But she's got a lump, and we had Dr. Bramlage look at it, and she's having a small procedure done. It actually looks really good right now, but she's going to need a little bit of time, and we'll sort through that. Grade 1 Brazilian filly, by the way.
Grade 1 Brazilian filly. Okay, nice. Thorpedo Anna, I believe, I could be wrong with this. So talk to me about, Mahmood. Is that in the sire line of Thorpedo Anna?
Mahmood may come through somewhere through El Prado. I'd have to look. I mean, it's easy enough to look it up. For those out there that like reading pedigree, let's pull it up real quick. You go into Pedigree Query, which is a website that gives you a lot of these details. PEDIGREEQUERY, pedigreequery.com. And so let's punch in Thorpedo Anna into the horse name. Go. So let's see if Mahmood comes through. Yeah. So Mahmood comes through Northern Dancer.
Okay, through Northern. All right, gotcha.
On the sire line. But I don't believe that there's any other Mahmood line through her. I mean, she's crossed. It's an interesting page. I mean, she's basically Medagliador out of an Uncle Mo mare.
Right.
She's got inbreeding to Seattle Slew down in the third and the fourth dams. But no, there's not a lot of Mahmood in there.
Seattle Slew was a decent horse back in the day.
Yeah, for sure.
We got it done.
Yeah.
So Felicia here, this is a nice comment. So excited for the Netflix show on the 22nd. I'm brand new to horse racing world, and your podcast has been phenomenal, teaching me about the sport. So thank you, Felicia, for tuning in. Anything you can give us? Now we hit on this a little bit, Kenny, but anything you can give us on the Netflix show, other than you feel like you're going to be pretty prominently displayed here. I mean, they did film during the Derby and the Oaks, right?
You know, that'll be interesting. I mean, I think they put me in there as kind of a supporting cast, and I don't think that they really thought that I would headline it. But you know, they had Brad Cox and they had Chad Brown, and we end up winning the two big races. And so it's been, it's been interesting how all that came together, and I think we probably will be very prominent in it. I haven't seen it. I lived it. They followed us around for months.
That's crazy you haven't seen it.
No,
that's wild to me. Normally they do some sort of premiere beforehand, but I mean it's April 18th and this thing comes out on the 22nd. I'm shocked you haven't seen it yet.
No, they didn't say anything. I mean, about sending us a prequel to, or the advanced version. I mean, I think they probably didn't want it out there, but it was a fantastic run for us, and I'm glad that they documented it. How it's perceived, I have no clue.
Gotcha.
But I was myself, not any different than I am on the show here. I mean, I just kind of lay it out there, and we had a blast. Who wouldn't win an Oaks Derby, right?
Right.
But I don't think that they expected for us to do it. I tell you who really superstarred in the whole thing was Sonny.
Oh, I guarantee it.
Oh, Sonny, he's got a camera magnet, this guy.
I love it. That's going to be so cool to see. All right, we just got a comment come in. Was Sun Thunder retired?
No. Sun Thunder is actually coming to our Churchill barn today. He's been at our Keeneland barn. He's a horse that's had a real problem with some foot quarter cracks. And so his feet have been a real burden to him. He had a very unusual issue with one hind foot, and we had to give him a lot of time off for it. But he's a horse that always tries really hard. Has a bit of a breathing. He has a breathing issue that has been addressed that I think compromises his ability to go next level. But look, he always goes out and tries, and I think you'll see him back here sometime late spring or summer.
Awesome. Let's see here. Trying to figure out we're having a little bit of connecting issues here. Kenny is the man, great trainer. We got a grizzly. Thank you, Sam. Absolutely, we got a grizzly. Isn't that the truth, Kenny?
Yeah, that was fun. People ask where that came from, and when I was just hanging out at the barn finishing up one morning, and somebody said, "How do you like your chances in the Oaks?" And I said, "Well, all I know is that they better bring a bear because I'm bringing a grizzly."
That's right.
And somebody made note of it, and it ended up in I guess the Blood Horse or one of the publications, and it's kind of stuck. She is a grizzly. That's
unbelievable. Super cool. Now, I have I bought my print, the Thorpedo Anna print, and with that, we got the hat, and it's the pink, and it has the grizzly, and so a lot of people have asked kind of where that comes from, and that was just something you said, right? It's just off the cuff?
Yeah, just off the cuff. I mean, and like I said, it kind of stuck. Other people handle the prints and the hats. It's Cindy Greathouse who helps, and the Thorpedo Anna principal, Brookdale, Jamie Watson out of actually England. He handles he started those hats and made the emblem, and he handles her website or her Twitter handle and Facebook handle.
Gotcha.
I don't ever touch any of that. And then we had Robert Clark did. He's done 2 paintings of her.
Yep.
And I helped finance the paintings, which, as my mother would say, weren't cheap. Wasn't cheap to do that, and
he's big time artist.
Yeah, and he's reselling those to try to. I'm hoping to hopefully just at least get even on the cost of the paintings. But he does great work, and we're excited for those out there that are interested in having a nice Thorpedo Anna on their wall. Bob's great guy.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that one. That one's going to be pretty cool. So Kenny, are you happy with how your current stable of horses are running?
Yeah, I mean, it's look, for every peak there's a valley in training and racing, whether you're an owner or trainer or jockey. Right now we've got some really nice horses. We tend to have extremes. I handle a lot of young horses, so sometimes you get a really good young horse, a Thorpedo or a Mystic Dan or whomever else, and then sometimes you get very average ones. So how that flows through, sometimes you've run a bunch of average horses, or sometimes your good horses don't run well. But it is something you always keep an even keel on. You don't get too high or low about it. You keep the same process. You keep it steady, and then you wait for the peaks and you accept the valleys.
That's part of horse racing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of really training.
It's like a baseball player.
That's right.
Sometimes they're hitting home runs, and sometimes they're striking out.
That's right. You can go through slumps.
Yeah, if you're a baseball player, 70% of the time you're going to get an out. 30%, and that puts you in the Hall of Fame practically.
Well, they call baseball a game of failure. Would you say horse racing is kind of like that a little bit too?
Absolutely. Yep. For sure.
And that makes sense to me, kind of that whole game of failure type thing, because it's really, really hard to get that right and win.
Well, there are people that spend a lot of time analyzing percentages, win percentages, strike rate. For me, I don't put any energy into strike rate. Many times I will try something with a horse, even an average horse, and say to the owner, look, I don't know if this is going to matter, but we're going to try this. And if he runs good, great. And if he doesn't, then we know we need to drop or, move a little bit and change something. And a good horse will build your numbers. And there's an equal responsibility on racing the top horses and the average ones. Because the average ones, you have to find the level that they fit. So how your horses are running in some cases is relative to the quality you've got and timing.
Timing's key. It's always a big key. So disappointing that Kenny won't have a Derby or Oaks horse this year. We may have an Oaks horse, right?
Well, we better. Yeah, we're. If you heard earlier in the show, we are on the fringes with one colt. Like I said, I'm not sure that he fits. I've got to analyze the past performances to see if rendered judgment is a horse that fits. We've got Take Charge Milady is definitely running, so we are in the Oaks.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, she should. Unless, physically, as long as she's good physically, she's going to make the Oaks.
We got a chance? Oh,
yeah, for sure. I mean, she's going to have to run down Good Cheer, but I think she's coming into this race. If she can, she's going to have to run her peak race. She ran a 103 equibase figure in her last race, and Good Cheer ran a 102. So for what it's worth, I mean, if those figures are reliable, then she should fit there. And the way she trained this morning, she worked 59 and change this morning, and she's all cylinders go.
Well, so that dispels that one. That was from Jack Flash. He also says, I love Kenny's operation, but like to see him get some better horses like Brad Cox or Chad Brown. Well, how would you respond to that?
Well, Brad does train for Judd Mon and Godolphin and a lot of really high-end people. And more power to him. I mean, I've got a nice base of clientele that I work for decades. I'm loyal to them, probably to a fault. I've got plenty of people that want to buy a horse in the $50,000 yearling range, and I'm okay with that. Of course, Thorpedo Anna comes from $50,000. Curlin did. Swiss God Ever. I don't have any pressure.
Right.
If every horse in the barn was a $1 million yearling, and Brad's got a lot of those, then to some extent that's a little more pressure.
Oh yeah.
But for us, there's a lot more upside and less pressure, and I like the people that I work for. I don't know that I want to change that. I've never been hired by Godolphin or Juddmont or anybody like that. I just do with what I get, and you know what? We run down Brad Cox. We run down a lot of these guys. I mean, we're competitive, and with the budget we have, and yeah, actually, I'm really proud of the work we do with the numbers. I think if you were an owner, the ROI with us is higher. So we're doing our job.
So this is from Kenny Neely. We really appreciate Kenny sharing all his insight with us on these podcasts. I personally think we must keep running horses until they are 5 to give them exposure in order to attract new fans to this great game. Not exactly sure what that means, but what's your opinion to running horses until they're 5?
I understand exactly what he's saying. I agree. There's every bit of a chance that Thorpedo Anna could run at 5. We're not making plans to retire. We're looking to run through the end of the year and take it from there. I don't think we're going to rush her off to the breeding shed at all. It depends on the horse. It depends on physical issues. It depends on timing. It depends on pedigree. Everybody out there that handles a horse, you'd love to think that they'd race a little longer, but it's just it's never black and white. It's always gray. Depends on a lot of different things.
So a lot of things coming in on render judgment, Kenny. I mean, obviously, I guess there's some disappointment with that horse at this point.
I wouldn't call it disappointment. I think every horse has its level, and we're trying to find his level. We have tried to get him. Okay, so he ran in the Risen Star, he ran in the Louisiana Derby, he ran in the he ran in the Virginia Derby. I can't remember his PPs off the top of my head. He runs good in the Virginia Derby. He came back in the Bluegrass. He ran okay to be 5th. It's not his fault. I think he goes out there and tries every time. But some horses have their level. And is he a grade 1 horse? No, I don't see that. Is he could be a grade 3 horse? He's still got to jump through that hoop too. Could he be a listed stake horse? Yeah, for sure. It actually kind of reminds me of Rattle and Roll, and that Rattle and Roll as a 3-year-old was a notch below most of the Kentucky Derby types. But as he got older, he's gotten a little bit better. Mm-hmm. He did win a grade 1 at 2, and then he's run off a lot of nice wins as an older horse. And he's a horse that's actually, while we're on him, he's come back from Dubai. He's going to get probably a 90-day break, and then he'll be back in training again. So, it just depends. I mean, render judgment could very easily be a rattle and roll type, a good solid horse that runs at a high level, but maybe not, superstar level. Superstar level's really tough to get to.
One of our listeners says Rattle and Roll had looked great. Got to see him win the St. Louis Derby a few years back.
Yep.
I was privileged to meet and greet and talk to Kenny briefly at Oaklawn before he watched Thorpedo Anna and Mystic Dan gallop around the track. Kenny is a wonderful sportsman and very accommodating to the fans. Kenny, that's part of it. I don't know that all the trainers are accommodating to the fans, to be honest with you.
I can't speak to that, but I enjoy people. I like people that are positive. If somebody comes and says hello, I'm all open to visiting. Apologies, I can't remember everybody's name all the time, but look, it melts me when people say, we came to see Thorpedo. I actually had a lady or a husband and wife, and his anniversary gift was he wanted to bring her to Oaklawn and meet Thorpedo Anna.
Oh, that's cool.
And he kept texting me and emailing me. I said, look, go to the stable. I had one of my guys lead him down there with her, and I think it made their day. I mean,
that's cool.
It's easy to do. It's not hard. I've always kept open door policy, and just trying to keep rooted. I've got a lot of good friends that help me with that.
So Terry says, I'm an average bettor. Frank George is my mentor. Still have his book, A Better Bet. For me, I am with the right horse and the wrong horse win, whatever that means. To all horse players, may the horses be with you. All right. Thank you, Terry, for chiming in there. Do you know that book he's speaking of?
I don't. I'm not much of a gambler. I mean, I know how to handicap. And if I put my mind to it, I'm good at it. But I have some family history through my father, who probably bet more than he should have. I don't gamble. I mean, when I say that, if I look at the board and a horse is 20 or 30 to 1, and in my mind it should be 2 to 1, and I know something that they don't know, I'll say to Sherry, hey, Sherry, put 20 across on this one.
Right.
That's probably a good play.
But that seems like nothing to a lot of the gamblers. 20 across is nothing.
Yeah, no, that's probably a max bet for me.
Yeah.
Every now and then I might put more, but not on a regular basis. And I never bet on other races. I'll probably only bet on mine. But like I said, minimal. It's just I think it clouds my judgment. I'm glad people do, of course. But for me, I'm more worried about what the horse is doing, what the jockey did right or wrong, how the race unfolded, than I am cashing an exacta.
Sure.
It just
Sure.
I don't need to be concerned about that.
Do you ever see a horse, though, that maybe isn't yours, that you're like, hey, this horse is going to be hard to beat? Like that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to, and I think everybody should do this and learn to do this, is when horses walk into the paddock at any race or really, I really like looking at major races, graded stakes. Look at every single horse and look at your program and look at the sire and the broodmare sire and look at every horse. And you start absorbing, what this one looks like and what that one looks like. And then over time, you build what I'd call a mental database of what that horse looked like and watching the good horses run. And so I really, if I were wagering, I'd really do more of it looking in the paddock and looking at energy level and how a horse's presence and things like that. But yeah, I think that's the fun part.
And by the way, if we have any of our viewers that are currently watching on YouTube or Facebook, if you have questions, please send them in. I'm looking at them right now, so we can have Kenny address them here immediately, live. Be kind of cool. Get your questions on air. Let's see. One thing here. Keith Keister. Can you tell us about a day in the life of a horse? Transportation, feeding, training, etc.
Well, a day in transportation. Well, let's just say we got one today at Keeneland. They started the morning. She was fed at 3:30.
3:30 a.m.
Yeah, 3:30 a.m.
Do horses just like to get up early, or is that just part of the life?
No, I think that the best thing to do is to feed horses in increments and timing wise. I like to feed 3 times a day. There are some trainers that only feed twice a day, some trainers that feed 4 times a day.
Right.
But small meals 3 times a day have tended to work for me. And it keeps their gut moving and their energy flowing. It's kind of like for people that are really strict with their diet. They eat small meals multiple times a day. And I think it's the same with the racehorse. And we give them unlimited hay. So the 3:30 a.m. feed is usually 2 quarts. And then that gives them a time to digest that before we go to the racetrack with the training. And then, like, for example, Thorpedo would go in the 5:30 set. So she has 2 hours to digest the 3:30 a.m. feed and then the training. And she goes out there. So she had a nice breakfast. She's going out there and she's going to do a little light work or gallop. And then, like, for example, on It Will Be Fun, who's running today at Keeneland, she got a hot bath, got walked. The stall was bedded deep. She was fed earlier. No sense in worrying about that. And then after she's been walked, her legs are rubbed down, feet are cleaned up. They prepare for a van ride. And then I think at 8:30, she would have left for Keeneland. And so it's about a 1 hour and maybe hour and a half from on the truck, off the truck, because they've got other horses that load on the truck.
Yep.
And then they unload at Keeneland. And when she gets there, my staff that's waiting for her has what I'd call a 6-hour feeding. 6 hours before they race, they get fed. And 6 hours is unique because the time that it takes a horse to digest their food and their peak energy is anywhere from 5 to 5.5 hours.
Okay.
So if that horse eats all its grain within an hour, then that peak level is race time. And so we feed everything 6 hours out. Two scoops or 4 quarts 6 hours out. And that pattern's worked really well for me for a long time. Some trainers like to draw their horses' feed all day before they run. Everybody's got their own approach. I learned that they run best if they've digested it. You don't want it laying in their stomach when they race.
Mm-hmm.
You want it cleared through into their intestinal tract and digested where that energy is used. Then from there, about 3 or 4 hours out, depending on if the horse is on Lasix, they have to get it 4 hours out.
You don't do that much.
I don't run on a lot of Lasix, but like this filly today is going to run on a light amount of Lasix. She's in a claiming race. She's a useful filly, but not next level. But she will get her Lasix at 4 hours. We typically pull hay and water at about 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'll be dressed up probably hour and a half before she runs. They start currying her and rubbing her, and then set bandages at about 45 minutes or an hour to post. And then 45 minutes to post, you're supposed to go to a holding barn.
Yep.
Where they draw blood and they test.
That's where the vets get involved, and that gets crazy, right?
Well, it's not crazy. It's pretty standard. And then she runs. She runs her race, and then after the race, she'll get a hot bath and cooled out for well over an hour. Sometimes they pick grass. Sometimes they get hosed, and then they're fed again, and then they might get on a truck and head back to Churchill. So it's a bit of a long day. That's a race day. But on a normal day, you would eliminate all the trucking, and a horse would be fed at 3:30, fed again at 10:30,
right?
Fed again at 4:30,
right?
And we try to walk as many as we can from 3 to 4:30. Like Thorpedo Anna gets out. Eric Shaw walks her every day at 3 o'clock for 30 minutes. Mystic Dan's a horse that typically gets out and walks.
What's next with Mystic Dan?
He's going to run at Oaklawn. We've got a race marked for him down there. It's a listed stake race.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got too ambitious with him early on. I think it was a race that the Malibu was a race that I regretted right after it ran. And then going from California to Florida, I thought, okay, that's a throwout. He needs more distance. And that one didn't go well. So now we're somewhat regrouping and trying to figure out, let's get him back into the winner's circle. And I think this is a good spot. But May 3rd at Oaklawn.
It hadn't been an injury thing. And we've talked about this a little bit, but obviously he did so well in the Triple Crown races. But then the ones afterwards have been kind of duds for him, and people are kind of scratching their heads, what's going on with him?
Well, no injury whatsoever. I mean, I just think that the ship to California took too far. I missed a work. It really wasn't logistically. It was a nightmare. When we got him to Gulfstream, I think the track was a little hard on him. He didn't like that track down there. It's never easy. It's like I've said earlier, it's not black or white. In hindsight, I kind of questioned whether I got too ambitious. I should have step laddered him and got him back in, and let's let him win a few, and then we'll go on deeper water after that. But still a lovely horse in every way and shape.
Angie asks, do you remember the first horse you ever trained?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Prevalence. Had ankles the size of grapefruits. if you walked her into the paddock and you stopped her for 1 second, she would flip.
Like you had to keep moving.
Yes. She was by Rich Cream, which is a stallion that some old school, actually Breton Jones stood Rich Cream at Airdrie Stud. But she was talented, but she had a lot of little issues, and I won several races with her. And
you did win several races with her.
Yeah.
So the first horse you ever trained.
Yeah. Well, I did. She did win my first race. My first winner was a horse named Final Destroyer.
Okay.
And he was by a stallion named
cool name.
Actuary. And then, ironically, Dale Romans also trained that horse to his first win.
Really?
Yes.
How about that?
What are the odds of that? And
wow.
And Dale and I both won a lot of races, and and I can remember every horse practically.
How do you do that though? That doesn't make sense to me.
I can remember horses, and in many cases, I can't remember people.
Well, that kind of goes back to, how you got started with this, how you were reading Blood Horse when you were at UK, and just being able to memorize all that kind of stuff makes you who you are.
I don't know. It's I can you can name a horse that I trained way back, and I can tell you which ankle. I can tell you whether they were in short or long, who rode it, and usually the pedigree, and it's kind of a weird. Like I said, I'll meet somebody at a cocktail party or in the paddock or something like that, and 3 minutes later, I can't remember their names, and it escapes me. It's embarrassing sometimes. I try, but if they'd show me their pedigree and their race record, I'd probably remember them.
Yeah. All right. We just had one come in here. So you've had some incredible wins over your career. Swiss Skydiver, Thorpedo Anna, Mystic Dan, etc. Do any of these stand out to you emotionally?
I mean, winning a grade one is fantastic. I think somebody said that they've won 31 of them. The rush of that is amazing. I don't know. I get a thrill on all of them. I mean, running through my head, did one stand out? Mm-hmm. Certainly Mystic Dan.
Yeah, the Derby.
I mean, yeah, and the job that Brian did. I mean, and nothing against Thorpedo Anna's Oaks win, but Mystic Dan, that was,
and that was pretty unexpected too, right?
Who wouldn't want your Kentucky Derby victory in a tight photo?
I mean, three of them.
Yeah. So yeah, and
I've had a lot of
fun. I've had a lot of fun. I've had grade 2s and grade 3 wins that were exhilarating. I've had maiden wins that, I mean, I don't know, that when I first won a race, the first race I won was with Final Destroyer at River Downs, which is now Belterra. And I remember the feeling of having put the work in and that horse winning. I think the purse was $4,100.
Wow.
But at that moment, I said, wow, I like that. That's kind of fun.
I want to do that again.
Yeah. And then it was a matter of getting better horses. I mean, it was 10 years before I finally came up with Tahana Run. I mean, I starved for the longest time.
Have you ever had a horse with a really unusual personality or an unusual habit?
Yeah, a lot of them. I had a horse named Callisto years ago that would do anything for peppermint. He was a terrible cribber. He hated a cribbing strap, but you could rattle the wrapper and put it between his front legs, and he would dip down and pick the peppermint out of your hand.
Interesting.
He was a really kind horse too. We have a lot of peppermints in the barn.
Right.
I think horses love peppermints once you teach them to eat them.
Yeah.
And the initial taste of them it'll startle maybe a young horse, but when they get to liking them, they love them, and then they hear the rappers. But yeah, I've had different personalities. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but
Tim asked, you were just working with your 2-year-olds. Any 2-year-old horses standing out that we need to put on our radar?
yeah, we've got a colt down there named World of Rock that we're really impressed by.
Cool name.
Yeah, we've got a colt named Liberty National that's in at Keeneland already. He's very impressive. There's an Arkansas bred named Honey to Blame that I'm real excited about for John Holloman. There's a long list of them. I mean, I can't begin. And there's some other ones that don't impress me at this stage, but that's typical. Out of the young horses, there'll be 20% that work out. Typically, 80% will be either not make. Well, small percentage won't make the races, but then there'll be those that are claimers and mid-level horses, and you've got to accept the ones that can't run at high level to get to the ones that do.
Interesting. Let's see here. We had a couple others come in. If you weren't a horse trainer, what do you think you'd be doing?
I probably would have been in either real estate or investments.
Mm-hmm. You were going down that path originally, right?
Well, I've got a degree in business finance and accounting, but I was a C student at the end of it all, and I think I told the story about the first semester 0.6 GPA without any focus. I wasn't focused, but when I did fine. But yeah, probably that. I mean, my father was in real estate. My mother was in stock market. She was a broker, and I would have done one or the other, and have money in real estate now and have money in the market.
All right. Aaron asks, what is the most superstitious thing you've seen in the paddock before a big race?
I do not take pre-race photos in the paddock. I won't let anybody take my picture in a pose. They could take a candid, but I won't pose for a picture because you're supposed to save all your photo
till afterwards
and your photo energy for the win photo. And I don't know. I'm kind of weird about that. My wife says I'm silly.
That's interesting. I like that's a good superstition, though. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Kenny, and we've talked about this a little bit. I know that the next big thing on your list could be the English Derby. Mm-hmm. But what do you hope your legacy in the sport of horse racing will be?
That I helped grow the sport. That I really, really love the game. I'd really like to think that I could contribute to its growth. I feel conflicted because the sport has really lost a large percentage of the foal crop since I started. It's very frustrating. When I started training, there were 54,000 foals this season. Now we're down to 15 or 16,000. I think somebody needs to do something about it.
Yep.
Matter of fact, what the reason we're sitting here with horse races now, I created that out of what I think is the problem with the sport. Mm-hmm. And matter of fact, I'm going to run through that. I'm going to tell you what I think is wrong with the sport.
But actually, that is kind of one of the next questions, kind of. So that'd be great.
Okay. So, and I'm going to use some analogies, and I might get a little long-winded, so everybody hang on. So, if anybody has ever watched the Ken Burns series, The History of Baseball, if you go back into the 1920s and 1930s, there was a decision made back then that really changed baseball. And for me, it resonates. So the Cincinnati Reds made a decision that they were going to play their baseball games on WLW radio. It's the first time it ever been done with a play-by-play announcer and a color announcer.
Okay.
And so at the time, the Cincinnati Reds were only averaging around 4,000 fans a game. They were called the Redlegs.
Yep, the Redlegs, that's right.
And the Negro Leagues were averaging 5,000 fans a game.
Wow, okay.
So the major leagues were really in a deep valley as connecting to fans and filling their stadium.
Sure.
So the owner of the Reds contemplated, hey, look, I'm not selling any hot dogs. I'm losing money. My players, they had the Black Sox series where the players were paid off by the gamblers to pull the series. And so there was a real cloud over baseball. So he puts it on the radio, and the league owners told him that if you do this, you're going to kill baseball. They firmly believed, and go back and watch the Ken Burns series because it really gives you some clarity on what baseball's problems were then. And I'm going to lead into how horse racing can change. And so when he opened it up and he put it on WLW, the league owners threatened to take his franchise away.
That's crazy.
They firmly believed that he was going to kill baseball by putting it on the radio. And he said he didn't really care because the team was losing money and it didn't matter, and he wanted to try it. So they did it. His general manager was a gentleman named McPhail, and I believe his name was Lee, and subsequently Andy McPhail ended up being the heads of one of the league, his son.
Okay.
So they put it on WLW, and it covered 600 miles radius, and within 2 seasons, they quadrupled attendance because people were able to listen and then learn about the sport, and it opened their eyes and their ears and their interest.
It invested in them.
And so they started following, and the Reds were good. And the next thing you know, they had to build a new stadium. So many people were coming. And so the vision on horse races now has been, let's open it.
Yep.
Let's show it.
Right.
Let's grow it.
Yep.
It not any different than the Reds.
Yeah.
And I believe that the device is the cell phone. You can watch a race in 2 minutes on your cell phone. You can't watch an NBA game or a football game. You'll go blind.
That's right.
Trying to watch it on your phone. But a horse race is easy to watch on your phone. So I think we do have an advantage.
Yeah.
So at one point in time, horse races now had 129 live racetracks. And what we had asked race courses to give us permission to stream their video. And we had to go through a company to get that. And they also gave us replays. And we were doing really, I mean, we were showing, at one point I was told that more people were watching racing on our product than any product or any entity in the world.
Okay.
Through a course of events, there are people that are protective of that content, and they decided they were going to close us. They shut our video down. And that we had to pay fees, and we were trying to keep up with it, and financially we didn't have that.
That makes sense.
So what's the solution? I think every racetrack out there needs to be on YouTube. They need to be live streamed on YouTube. We need to get so that Keeneland live streams on YouTube, and every race course, if you're a fan of a racetrack, go tell the general manager, the head of that racetrack, stream on YouTube, please, so that people can get in there and watch it. We can't afford to stream video, and we were practically bankrupted by trying to pay for that. And I don't understand why racetracks, if we're going to open and try to grow the sport, that they don't want it out there. And not any different than the Reds, I think that the mindset is it's going to hurt horse racing if you open it up.
Yeah, no, people aren't going to come to the track.
Yeah, well, they're gonna learn. So here's our current system. If you're going to watch a horse race, and there's a couple of different details you need to understand. If you have to open an ADW to get it on your phone. Mm-hmm. If you open an ADW, you have to be of the right age to have a credit card to open an account. Mm-hmm. You have to be in the correct state. Mm-hmm. If you're in the wrong state, then you're blocked. Mm-hmm. If you're not old enough, you're blocked. Mm-hmm. If you are in the correct state, but you don't have a credit card, you're blocked.
Yep.
So how in the world are we going to grow a sport that you can't watch?
Yeah.
Okay, so FanDuel TV or TVG,
right?
And I actually was contributing to ideas on that many years ago. That I said, let's open it. I think FanDuel or TVG, it has been brilliant for the sport. A lot of people follow it. Today it's FanDuel, so actually they're kind of doubling down on sports wagering too.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is they can only show 4 or 5 tracks. And because they can only show 4 or 5 tracks, what about all the other tracks? What about if somebody wants to watch the 3rd race at Belterra, or they want to watch Mountaineer, or they want to watch Louisiana Downs, or they want to watch whatever racetrack anywhere? Do you know how many racetracks are in North America? 600.
Wow.
Do you know how many stream video through the current system? Only 188.
Okay.
And that means there are 412 racetracks that are not being seen.
Yeah, they're missing out.
So how can you grow a sport? How can those tracks possibly grow their business if nobody can watch them?
Yep.
And we've tried to come up with solutions and tried to figure out how to do this. the ability to stream video today, you can FaceTime your family.
Oh, it's pretty easy.
It's pretty easy. I mean, we've got a guy that works with us on horse races now, Chris Carper, who's a brilliant streaming video specialist. He was with Microsoft. He's trying to come up with solutions. And I really wish that the powers that be out there, the company that streams, would really figure a way to work. Because I think more of the video, I mean, it would grow the sport, would make it more valuable. But if we continue to block people from the ability to watch, the foal crop's going to continue to go down. And I think there are a lot of people out there that are dependent upon jobs, whether it's horse farms, whether it's trainers, jockeys. We need to get these foal crops so that they're growing back to the 50-something thousand. Now, in the meantime, you know, we are working on trying to get video for European tracks. Actually, it's easier than it is U.S. tracks. But ultimately, if a racetrack or any racetrack in America can get their video on YouTube, then we can link it into the Horse Races Now app, and then we'll send notifications to the users so they can watch.
Yeah.
And so we're here to try to connect those dots. And, you know, financially, I mean, I'll be quite honest, I've got $6 million into horse races now, as at this moment, a loss. But my passion is there, and it's what I'd call, for those that know business, what a loss leader is.
Right.
We have had 1 million downloads in 223 countries, and that being able to connect to that many people has been valuable, which has offset the $6 million in cash that we've invested in it over the past 13 years. Mm-hmm. And so I'm content with losing the money to maybe make. And you know, I've got some great clients, that some of which came from the Horse Races Now database. And so in a way, it's lost, but it's gained.
Right.
And so I've had to look at it as a lost leader. But my passion, and back to earlier question, I really want to see that be more of a legacy than winning a Derby or an Oaks or training a horse of the year. I mean, I think that's a fantastic, I love it that I've been able to pull that off while doing trying to do this at the same time. I'm a bit of a multitasker. I can't help it. I don't play golf on the side. I try to balance family and horses and this and that. And sometimes I do great and sometimes I struggle.
That was incredible. And listen, it makes complete sense to me. I coach a travel baseball team, Kenny, and every single one of our games we stream. And we're talking about 15-year-old kids, right? Like they're just a travel team. Yeah. It doesn't make sense why not every single one of these races are streams.
It makes no sense at all.
I mean, it's not hard to do.
And the sport's barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah.
They're barking about breakdowns. They're worrying about medication. They're
Correct.
worrying about cheaters. There aren't any cheaters. There are very few.
Yeah.
I mean, we really are barking up the wrong tree. I think Heiss is wonderful. I think they're doing good to align the rules. That's what I want to see there. But they've not addressed the media rights in the sport. Media rights, okay, data goes through Equibase, but the media rights in the video, it would be like the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey giving away their media rights.
Yep.
I mean, they need to figure a way to get so that this sport's really out there, make it so easy to watch. And I'm going to finish with what's really motivated me. We had grown this users or large number of tracks that were streaming. And these 3 kids walk up to me in the paddock at Keeneland. And this has been 10 years ago.
Okay. When you say kids, how old do you think?
10 years old.
Okay.
9, 10,
Pretty young.
Max. Maybe younger.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them says, "Are you Mr. McPeek?" And I said, "Yeah." And of course, I'm looking down, they're looking up. And he says, "Did you make the app?" And I said, "I did." And kind of giggled. And 3 of them at the same time, it still gives me goosebumps. They said, "We love the app." And so those kids, I guarantee today, are still following horse racing.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the group that we need. Those kids cannot possibly follow horse racing if they have to open an ADW or they have to depend on their parents to get a satellite dish or
Amen.
to subscribe to TVG or FanDuel.
Yep.
They cannot watch. So they could watch with us. And then I know that here 10 years later, they're probably gambling on horses too.
Probably.
Hope their mom and dad don't get mad at me about that. But that's for me the motivation. Those 3 kids still to this day are like, okay, that's why I'm going to keep it on.
Right.
That's why I'm going to lose X amount per month by continuing to try to grow the sport. And I do think that it's a long play. If you look at all the big companies that ever did really well, whether it was Apple or Microsoft, as startups, they struggled for a decade.
That's right.
That's the way it is.
Yep.
Nothing's easy.
Yeah.
But out there, we need you all out there to help and actually promote this mindset that we need to open it. And if we show it, it'll grow. If we don't show it, it will never grow.
Love it.
Now I'm all worked up.
I love it, man. Preach. That's awesome. All right. So, Kenny, this has gone really, really well. So I want to thank everybody who has joined in our first live ever Horse Races Now. Last question here, Kenny, and I think this is going to be an easy, fun one. Who has the best winner's circle? What track?
Oh, wow. Well, the best winner's circle is the infield of Churchill Downs on the first Saturday of May.
Amen. Amen. That Kentucky Derby winner's circle.
That's it.
That's
Easy
right.
peasy on that one.
I love it.
Yeah.
Kenny, anything else before we get out of here today?
No, just everybody keep at it. Thank you for watching. We'll see you at the races.
See you at the races. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you joining us for our first live. Next time, we won't surprise you. We'll actually promote it and let you prepare some questions. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week.